Well, welcome back to our Thrive Couples group and the series that we've been in. This is our final week of From This Day Forward. And man, we just got to say once again, thank you all for diving into a couples group, for being in relationship and in community with other couples, whether you're engaged, whether you're dating, whether you're married, you are building into your relationship. And that is just so critical. And hopefully this has been really helpful in building your marriage.
Absolutely. And this week, we are talking about going the distance in marriage. It is not a small topic by any means. And we totally believe, and the reason for this study, this time together with your group, is that God created marriage to last a lifetime. And we know that sometimes, unfortunately, marriages end. And so if you're in a group and you have been through a divorce, we do not want you to feel any shame, any despair as we talk about this tonight, and this whole study is meant to bring hope and life to your marriages. In fact, we know you're in this group because you want your future or current relationship to be successful, and we think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We are so glad wherever you come from, whatever your life circumstances have been when it comes to your relationships. We think it's awesome that you're a part of this group and you've been a part of it. And that takes us to our incredible couple that is joining us tonight. We are so grateful to have a couple that has plenty of marriage experience to share. So we want to welcome Tony and Deb Honig with us tonight and today, wherever you're watching this. So thank you guys so much for being here. Why don't you let everyone in our groups know a little bit more about you guys?
Okay. Well, Deb and I have been married for 40 and a half years. And we met in 45 years ago, and it was at a ski weekend with Youth for Christ. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and it was history from that point on.
We have 2 adult children. They're both married. Christian and Kim have been married for 17 years, and Jill and Bri have been married for 14 years. Each of them have 4 kids, so we have 8 grandchildren total, from 15 down to 2 5-year-olds. So really keeps us busy. And they're local, and it's just amazing. I mean, we never could have imagined that they've each had 4 kids, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah, lots of fun.
We're really glad that you guys are here. We've, so far in this series, we've had couples that are newlyweds and then couples that are kind of like what I might call like mid-range, around like 15 to 25 year. And you guys bringing so much experience. And we're just so grateful that you're here. So I'm sure that you guys being married, as long as you have, had some rough moments in your life, right?
A couple.
Yeah, right. And all marriages go through some difficult times. I think some couples look at marriage and kind of have this idealistic kind of view that it's always going to be good. And if we get married, things are only going to get better. But we go through some difficult times. So can you tell us about a time or a season that was difficult in your marriage, and how did you get through it? And how did that experience affect your marriage?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there are many options to choose from, but one that really comes to mind, it was a circumstance of several events that led us to some challenging times. And one of them, it actually started off with the death of Debbie's younger brother. And so in that grieving period time, I was at the end of a season where I was working for a company for 21 years. That job was ending, and they gave me the opportunity to relocate to a different state. So here are both of us that living in here with all of our family here in the state, having to decide if we were going to move out of state away from our family. So we, as a family, all 4 of us decided, yes, we were going to do that. Now, our kids, remind you, they were grown. They told us that they were on board and they were going with us. So we agreed to the relo, and the vans were on their way. And Jill and Christian said that they weren't going to go with us. So that added another thing. Now we're going into a new state, and we were all of a sudden empty nesters. And so we moved to Richmond, Virginia in 2001 with, trying to cover from grieving and loss of our family and just so many things that were going on. And it was a stressful time for us. So, while we were down there, we were very fortunate that we got plugged into a good church. I think that really helped us, starting to make some connections there. And we really looked at it as an opportunity for us to possibly do ministry. The neighborhood that we moved into, we were one of the first ones in there. So we decided that we were going to try to get a community Bible study going. So we got almost the whole neighborhood involved in a Bible study. So for a long period of time, we were doing that. And it was really good. So that really helped us through there. And Deb made some good relationships with some ladies down there. And then in addition to that, I thought this was important, is one of the things that historically that I've always done, but I found that this was really important because I couldn't help her through her grief and I couldn't help her through missing her family other than coming back up here. So I really focused, my main emphasis was praying for her. As a habit, I always get up in the morning on my way to work before I go out, even when I don't want to, even when the days I really don't like her, that's really when God speaks to my heart. And I go up and she's sound asleep and I wrap my arms around her and I just pray for her. I pray whatever God puts on my heart to build into her that day. And I really believe that had a strong power in keeping us close and getting us through those difficult times. But it was difficult. It was.
I didn't think I could cry any more than I cried all the time. I mean, my parents had just lost a child. They were losing their second one by moving to Virginia. My kids weren't with me anymore. It was crazy. It was really a stressful time.
Yeah.
And I'm directionally impaired. So people kept telling me, just drive around. That doesn't happen in my world. You never would have found me.
Nope.
So it was tough.
And another point there with regard to, being empty nesters. One of the things that we focused on in growing up in our years of marriages was putting each other first. We made a point of just going away for weekends. So we were by ourselves and going to seminars and doing things so that we ultimately saw the day was going to come when it was just the two of us again. We weren't expecting it then, but I do believe that played into it as well because we had that wall there that helped us get over it. Yeah.
We got married. You guys got married really young, right?
21 and 23.
Yeah. I was 19 and she was 20, and I was hitchhiking, and no, I'm kidding. But what you just said really reminded, like, we were in the same boat. We had kids immediately, right away. Mm-hmm. And we kept hitting this place in our marriage where we were like, you know what? If we're going to make this for the long haul, as God designed it, we really want to spend the rest of our lives together, we've got to put each other first. Mm-hmm. And not at the sacrifice of our kids, but what we found is the best gift that we could give our kids is a healthy us, right? Yeah. And it sounds like that's what you guys were able to do early on. And even through the difficult times, man, the secret sauce for you guys was to turn to the Lord and let Him work through each other to the other person.
Yeah,
it's so critical.
Yeah, and I think what helped Deb through this is she was committed to this process. She may not have been real excited about going there, but she was committed to me, and so she put me and what I was called to do, be it a new job, first. And so it was hard for her, but her commitment made it that much easier for me to be able to get through the transition. Yeah. Right on. I married up.
Yeah, you did. Oh, trust me, she did too. So
that is so good. Thank you guys for sharing and being so honest and real, because we all know if you're married, any amount of time, you're going to have those challenges. And the longer I think that we are married, the more life happens, the more big transitions like that can happen. So it was so good. So guys, in your groups, it is now your turn to discuss. And we're going to ask you to discuss these two things tonight, okay? Describe a time when you encountered a tough spot in your marriage. How did you get through it? And how did that experience affect your marriage?
All right, welcome back, guys. And listen, thank you so much for being willing to be honest in your group and to share your life experience as a couple. We really believe, we say it all the time here at Freedom Church, that you have freedom over what you can talk about. And so thanks so much for doing that. So Helen and I have learned, and we learned early on in our marriage, not only through life experience, but also through some good, wise mentors that we had, that our marriage is only going to be as good as we want it to be, right? And so you've got to be willing to intentionally invest in your marriage.
Right. And we realized that the biblical principle of sowing and reaping applies to marriage, right, as well. And usually we think about sowing and reaping, as it relates to finances and generosity and investing directly into the kingdom of God. And that is all true, for sure. But it also applies to our marriage, right? Yeah. And so, guys, Tony and Deb, what have you guys learned about sowing into your marriage and reaping what you sow?
That's a good. The bank account is a very good example. As you put into the relationship, you have to have more deposits in than you're going to have withdrawals. There are going to be times that you're going to, I do it more than her, say something, do something, stupid, that it has to be able to be covered by the love and the affection and whatever it is that I put into the marriage. Because if the withdrawals overtake the deposits, you're going to end up with a bankrupt account, and it's going to just be challenging, very difficult. So one of the ways that we do that, we've learned, again, going through some of the seminars that we've been to, is the 5 love languages. All of us have those languages which we thrive on. And what I've learned over the years is that, and I haven't proven this, but I think it is true, that we normally show affection based upon what my love language is. So if my love language is gifts, I'm going to buy her gifts. And if her love language is touch, she's going to do touch. So I had to learn that, it's not necessarily what I wanted. It's learning what Debbie wanted, and then building into that, use that as part of the bank account and building up those kind of situations. That's one of the things that I've learned about in sowing and into our marriage and making it more successful.
He does really well. He does well with the love languages. He does understand me totally. And that's been really important. And he continually just strives to make me happy and just make the best out of our marriage.
And you have to put into the part where you're be intentional. This conference, we're here. Everyone is here because you want to build into what you're doing. You want to make your marriage stronger. You want to build for the future. This is all part of it. You have to be intentional about what you're doing.
Okay, so as a follow-up question, all of your years of marriage, 40 plus, right? Which is so hard for me to believe because you guys don't look old enough to be married really, honestly. What advice can you give to other couples that can help them never give up on their marriage?
So I was thinking about this. I couldn't find just one amazing thing to say. So I have 7. I actually have 7. So, and these are all things that I've been taught or figured out. Someone's told me, but they make sense to me. So your spouse is God's perfect gift to you. They may not be perfect, but he's perfect for me. That was God's design. The second one is that you do have the power to change your marriage. If it's not good, you've got the power to change it. You can make things happen. A third one is when you fight, and all of you will fight, just to remember that your spouse is not the enemy, that Satan's the enemy of our marriage. And another part of that is we all kind of replay the fight, I think, afterwards, in our head, what could I have said or whatever. It should be kind, though. And to think about what was said and what can be learned from that fight. I mean, things that Tony may have said that, all right, he said something, and how can I learn from that? So the fourth one was that there are always people watching. It might just be the kids at the time, but people are always watching and analyzing your relationship, and you want to be a good example for that, especially in church and leadership capacity. People are watching. And then the grass is not always greener on the other side. another person cannot fix your problems. I mean, the percentage of divorces in the second marriage are extremely high. People are always, I think, looking for something better and, oh, if I marry someone else, it's going to be better. And that's not always the case. The sixth one is we know that God has a plan for each of our lives, but he also has a plan for us as a couple. And I love what's been said at church, that if we're not dead, he's not done. And it's easy as we get older just to kind of sit back and let the younger people do things. But I mean, we still have stuff to offer. We've got experience, we've got years, we've got gray hair. So and the last one is that marriage is a process, just like our Christian walk. It's a journey. No one ever achieves or arrives at the perfect marriage. And I think people are thinking, oh, it's going to be perfect, when the kids are gone and when we're empty nesters, when we're retiring. It's not. We live day to day as sinful people. And we just need to realize that if we put our faith in Christ and just continue to walk following him, that he's going to bless us and he's going to show us where we need to be and show us where we need to lead and to serve. So.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times when you look at different couples, I'm confident that people will look at us and say, "Oh, they have a relationship. What a relationship they have." They don't know who we are, okay? And we're growing. We're 40 and a half years, and we still are learning. We're still struggling. This is something new every day, every minute. We're challenged. It's just like our walk with Christ, as Deb said, that we're being sanctified. Our marriage is being sanctified continually, and it's not going to be perfect until we go see Christ. And the moment that we think that we have arrived, I think we've kidded ourselves, and we started to move in the wrong direction. And I think, it's so you have to keep putting into it, and it's worth it. It is worth it. Just, yes, you're going to have struggles, you're going to have trials, but stay in there. Just go to the end, go to the mat for your marriage. It's worth it.
One other thing, I'm sorry, is that God did not call us to be happy. He called us to be holy. I mean, a lot of times people think if we get married, they'll be happy. And that's not what it's all about.
And I hope in your groups you were taking notes. If not, maybe rewind it and look at it back. But you just got like some incredibly deep nuggets of truth as it relates to marriage and relationships. And man, thank you guys so much. It's so rich and so good. And so now what you're going to do, guys, in your groups is you're going to wrap up by discussing a couple of questions. One is, what is one thing that you can sow into your marriage to make it better? Sometimes we can get overwhelmed. You may want to, think about what Debbie said, like these 7 things that she shared. And we're like, oh, we're going to do all 7. And that can be overwhelming. Pick one. Right? Pick one that you can work on for the next 3 months, the next 6 months. But what's one thing that maybe you're not investing in your marriage now that you could start and it would make it better? So maybe think about that and discuss that as a group. So the second thing we want you to do is think back over this entire group study and think about some specific things that you've learned over the last few weeks that you're going to implement to ensure that you and your spouse never give up on your marriage.